Hello, my name's Simon Crafar. We're in Valencia in Spain at the circuit between, as you can see, the Aprilia trucks with the engineer from Aprilia, Paolo Bonora. Thank you for joining us, Paolo.
Thanks.
And this week's Tech Talk I wanted to do with Paolo, and he's thankfully agreed, about the massive step forward Aprilia has taken over the last couple of years, but especially this year. It's the biggest step of any manufacturer if you consider where they were to where they are now. You know, Paolo, to go from no podiums like 18 months ago and concessions to fighting for the World Championship for most of this year, and it looking like still, well, fighting for top 3 in the World Championship. So what I wanted to ask you about for our tech-loving listeners is where you see this step coming from. For example, we saw beginning of 2020 a new V-angle engine. Can we start with that? Where do you see your progress engine-wise?
Yeah. Simon, first of all, thanks you a lot for these good words, because saying that
truth.
we did a massive step is absolutely something that makes us very happy. We did a massive step in the last 2 years. It's not only since this year, but we have seen since last year that already the bike did a good step in terms of rideability for sure, and in terms of acceleration. So we did 2 big steps that all our riders feel immediately. We start in Silverstone last year with the first podium of Aprilia, but we have seen since there that something changed. Something changed in the bike, and something changed also in the rider ability to use the bike. So since we put a different position on of the engine on the bike because of the V engine, of the 90-degree engine, because of a different shape on the chassis, on a fully different aerodynamic behavior, we did a great step. Not forgetting the electronic development that, as you know, follow the engine. So with a different engine configuration, it's necessary that the electronic follow and try to manage in the best way the new engine characteristics. So as you can see now, the bike is much more well balanced. Outside of the corner there is less movement. In particular,
You mean acceleration?
In acceleration phase. In particular, I like to remember the way of the exiting from the corner of Aleix Espargaro in Argentina. That if you remember well, our bike low grip, but with a good management of the rear pumping and the rear movement. So we did a step. We did a step in all the aspect of the bike. In engine for sure, in the rideability, in the torque shape, and in the engine performance, because we did a step in horsepower. It is not enough. Our riders are still asking for more horsepower, but we did a step since the past, compare the past. We did a step in the electronic management, in particular exiting out of the corner. So in the initial part of the throttle response, to give to Espargaro and Viñales the maximum feeling in the opening phase, because as you know, close to 60 degrees of lean angle is absolutely necessary to give to the rider the maximum feeling. Otherwise they lose time in the throttle opening, so you lose time. So we give to them better confidence in the opening phase, working on the throttle response and on the traction control. But everything is necessary to work together with the aerodynamic package. The new aerodynamic package coming since the last 2 years give us much more load front load and rear load, so allow us to keep the tire better on the ground without having really during the acceleration, so you can gain acceleration. So the maximum speed is obtained, okay, for the performance, for the more horsepower that we have in on engine, but also for the better acceleration coming outside of the corner. And we improve on the rear load, giving us the possibility to push much more the rear tire on the ground, also in the engine braking phase. So allow us to stop better the bike in the hard braking. It is not enough. As you see, our competitor did a huge step. It's necessary to follow this, push another time for the next season for sure, but following our philosophy. So improve step by step all the areas, not working only in one side, because at the end, to give to the rider the maximum confidence, is necessary to work on the package, the full package.
I believe you completely, and I'm glad that you just explained it, how it's a full package. But to understand it more simply from our side, we have to break it down a little. And if just before we move on from engine, do you mind quickly telling the viewers, for example, I understand you moved from 72 degrees, was it? 72, roughly, something like this, to 90,
yes.
With part of the reason being for engine brake management. I understand, but
not only for this.
Not only
for this. Give us much more possibility in terms of making a wider angle, allow us to reduce the height of the rider, because as you know, the airbox goes down, you can put the rider more inside the bike, and you gain in aerodynamic and in maximum speed. This.
Fantastic.
Second is because the 90 degree is a natural vibration control, let me say.
More balanced.
More balance. So allow us to reduce the size of the engine in the lateral side.
Without balancing,
without the balancing. So we can gain also in the front size of the bike. You can gain acceleration also for this. Not only gain acceleration, but also allow you to put the rider in a more comfort situation when he is inside into the corner, because he can stay more close to the bike. He can go with more idling angle without touching with his foot, with his arm.
Because
on
everything's
the
smaller,
because
yeah?
Everything is inside.
Unreal.
So the 90 degree gives much more possibility for the engine performance, but not only this, the bike has other important effect also on the bike rideability.
Okay. Like you said, everything works together as a package. So you've mentioned aero and chassis. You mentioned it in your talk before. When I first saw this chassis, it looked like you did a lot of work because everything had to be changed to fit the smaller chassis, meaning all of the parts that bolt to it. And the first test at Malaysia, I remember Aleix saying, so beginning of the season, Aleix saying he couldn't go in too fast and make the bike run wide. So the chassis and probably aero was working so well.
You are fully right, Simon. It is something that we developed during last year, and we are currently developing to follow the rider comments. The chassis is the base of the bike, so we are following our philosophy since many years, but improving step by step. We are focusing on making the hard braking phase of the bike stable, to reduce the speed in a lower time, and to allow the rider to have the correct feeling to make the turn. So it's necessary to have the correct stiffness and the rigidity between the front and the rear of the chassis, to don't lose the stability, but allow the bike turning itself when you release the brake and we are in neutral position. The chassis is important also outside of the corner when you make the acceleration, because the stiffness of the chassis allow you to control the slip on the rear or the movement of the rear. So it's necessary to have the correct stiffness, the correct rigidity, and the correct weight distribution of the different pieces, the mass on the bike.
I'm conscious that you have to go back to work, so I'm not going to keep you much longer, I promise, Paolo. But like I mentioned earlier, you no longer have concessions because of your success in the last, this season, you know. Is it realistic? I'm going to make it the last question because then you can go back to work. Is it realistic to expect another step forward and next season, and also, you know, in the situation where you lose concessions? Is it possible to make the step?
It is a quite important question that you are making to me. It's necessary to change a little bit the working method, in particular in the engine allocation, the engine development. Is necessary to understand better all the engine allocation for the season, because we have now less engine compared, next year we will have less engine compared this year, so it's necessary to work more with the focus on the reliability on the engine compared to performance. But as you know, the rider asks for more horsepower.
It makes the rider's job more easy. So yeah,
more easy, for sure. But it's necessary to work in a different method. We thought about this since last year. To be honest, we hope to lose the concession. We did it, so we are now with the same potential of the other competitor. We have no more concession compared to the others. At the end, it's necessary to focus only with our test team. It is not a limitation, because it's necessary to adjust the test list with the plan and everything, all the parts, to be sure that everything that we test with the test team will be ready for the official ones. But it's necessary to understand that now we have to work as the other competitors, and to focus more on the parts and on the test that it is directly usable on the track, without testing with the official rider. So we need to test, retest again and retest again, to be sure that if we bring something to the races, will be fine also for the official. As you know, during the race we have no enough time to evaluate new parts, so we have to be sure that everything that we bring to the race will be successful. A step forward in the performance.
Okay. Last thing for Aligo is, why you think it was possible to make this big step again this year. What is, just to, I know it might take a long time to explain, but what do you think are the keys of making this step? Because I would love to understand.
For sure, we will work on engine for sure, on reliability.
Sorry, Paolo. I mean, what do you think this success was down to this year? Why this year? Because you will understand what changed in the team. Why? Who were the people successful that made the results? You fighting for championship this year until the last few races and fighting for third at the last race. Why was this possible? What was the big change?
Yeah. As I said before, the changing on from an independent team to a factory team with the help of Piaggio was the key, because give to everybody on the team a new feeling, a new atmosphere.
Factory team.
So it's necessary to push more. Now we are factory, and we have the power and the potential to do better. This comes from the first day that we put this new environment into the circuit. Everybody was absolutely excited about the new era, and the rider felt this, and also them would like to push another 20% over the 100% already, another 20%, because the environment helped the rider a lot.
Paolo, thank you a lot.
Thanks so much, Simon.
And on behalf of everyone who enjoys the tech stuff, thanks for your contributions this year. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. See you next year for another Tech Talk. Bye for now.